All right, in this video, we are going to do geometric and arithmetic sequences, number 2. So it says, number 1, the first term of the sequence is 4, and each of the subsequent terms is found by multiplying the previous term by n. What is the value of the 15th term in the sequence? Subsequent means previous. So it just says, like, you take your number, you add 4 to it, and that's how you, or multiply by n, and that's how you figure out your problem. So in this problem, it says that you are multiplying, so that lets you know that you should be using the geometric. So the geometric formula is a sub n equals a sub 1 times r to the n minus 1. So in this problem, a sub n is the term we're trying to find. So we are trying to find the 15th term. It tells you that the first term is 4. Our ratio, how we get from one term to the next, is multiply by n. And we are working with 15 terms. So in this problem, I've got a to the 15 equals 4 to the n to the 14, which is option D. So you know you actually don't have to solve this problem because you're not going to get a number answer because all of your answer choices have the letter n in them. All right, number 2. The 10th term in the arithmetic sequence is 38. The second term is 6. What is the value of the first term? Now, in these problems, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of sketch it out. So here is a sub 2. The second term is 6. If we continue this pattern up until the 10th term, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So a sub 10 is 38. We are trying to find the value of a sub 1. We want to get to a sub 1. So when you're dealing with problems like this, it's very helpful to write the pattern out because it makes it a little more visual. Since it tells us that it's arithmetic, we know that we have to find the common difference. There's no way to get to a sub 1 until we know how to get there. Looking at the trend, though, notice how these numbers are getting larger, so our final answer has to be smaller than 6. So we can at least narrow D and E out because they're bigger than 6. Now, common differences. To get from one term to the next, I add a common difference. So when I keep adding the common difference, okay, I'm going to continue, and then you get here. So I start at 6. And I continue to add the common difference 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. When I add 8 times of the common difference, I end up at a sub 10, which is 38. To help you find the common difference, you solve for the letter D. So I would subtract 6 and divide by 8, so my common difference is 4. My common difference is 4. So what ends up happening here is you know that I'm adding the same number every single time. When I start at 6 and add the common difference 8 times, I end up at 38. So that's how you can help find the common difference. And if we were to follow that pattern, we would in fact end up to 38. But that's if you're going forward. If we're going backward, I would subtract 4, which would give me 2. So the first term is 2. Some of these problems on this worksheet follow that same little trick. Okay? Number 3, what is the 35th term of the sequence? So the 35th term of the sequence, this repeats. It's not arithmetic or geometric. It's just repetition. It's going to repeat after this term. Notice how they gave you a complete cycle. So I'm just going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, then it's going to repeat. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. And I end up at 5. So please don't waste your time writing all of those numbers out, okay? It repeats every time that you go to 6. So just count to 35. It's not that big of a number. I would just count there. On one of these problems, it is a large number, so you won't want to count. But on this one, counting is easy. Number 4, the sum of the first 4 terms in the arithmetic sequence is 32. What is the value of the sum of the first and fourth term? So it's telling you the sum, it's arithmetic. So the sigma formula is sigma equals n over 2 times a sub 1 plus a sub n. Well, it tells you that the sum is 32. We are working with 4 terms because we're working in the fourth, so our 4 over 2. A sub 1, we don't know, but we know A sub n is going to be represented by A sub 4. Now, in this problem, you might think that you need to know those values, but the question says, what is the value of the sum of the first and fourth term? This right here is the value of the sum. So you're just going to keep those together. So 32 equals 2 times A sub 1 plus A sub 4. I think I might try writing in capitals. I think it might be a little bit easier so you don't think it's a 2. So then I'm going to divide by 2 and I would get 16. So 16 would represent the sum of A1 plus A4. Option B. Remember, these problems are not as difficult as they seem. All right. What is the first term in the geometric sequence? Well, to kind of work our way backwards, to get from 7.5, which is here, up to 30, you multiply by 4. That's it. So to continue the pattern, if I multiply by 4 times 4 times 30 is 120. So you just have to find the pattern. You just have to be good with multiplication skills. Also, you could test it. You could say, okay, all right, I know my next term is 30 and my next term is 7.5. So you could do guess and check. You could say, okay, what times 35 gives me 30? Okay, if you can't figure it out, it's probably not the right answer. So if you tried 60, you would say, okay, I would divide by 2. Well, if you divide 30 by 2, that is 15. That does not equal 7.5. So you know that this one's not right. So what I would recommend is just guess and checking your answers. That would probably be the easiest way to do these if you're struggling. All right, number 6. Looks complicated. It's not complicated, okay? It's just a lot of variables. It says the first term in the arithmetic sequence is m. So A sub 1 is m. Okay. Then it says each subsequent term is found by adding n. So the common difference is n. I am adding n to the previous term. What expression represents the 99th term? So we are dealing with 99 terms. And notice how they chose the letter n in the formula. They're purposefully doing that so you don't know how to do the problem. You're like, oh, I thought n was number of terms. It is, okay? They're representing a different letter here. So I'm going to write my formula. So A sub n equals A sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. So to continue, this is going to be A sub 99. The first term is m plus number of terms is 99 minus 1. And my d value is n. So A sub 99 equals m plus 98 times n, which is option C. So in these problems, all you're doing is just using a formula and simplifying. Number 7, number 7 is the one that I would not recommend counting. So this is, again, just another pattern. So I'm going to look for repetition, and I notice that it repeats after 5. So every 5 terms, it repeats. Okay, well, we want to get to the 400th term. So, okay, let's just say I'm going to start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Notice how 400, if I divide 400 by 5, which is how many terms are in the sequence, I get a nice, oh, it's not 20, just kidding, it's 80, another problem, it's 20. Notice how it's an even number, which means it is always going to end when the series ends or repeats. So the correct answer is 5. You actually don't need to find the answer, you don't need to find it. The answer is just 5. Okay. Number 8 is very similar to number 2. So it says the oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going to take a drink of water and just breathe for a second. I think I'm just trying to rush through this because I know that there's 24 questions and this might be a kind of a long video. Okay, here we go. The 5th term of the arithmetic sequence is 11x squared. So I'm going to start here. A sub 5 is 11x squared. The 7th term, so here's a sub 6, here's a sub 7. The 7th term in the same sequence is 17x squared. Okay? What is the 3rd term? To get to the 3rd term, you have to know the common difference. So we're going to do the same thing we did before. We start at 11x squared, and I would add the common difference twice. So plus 2. And instead of using x, I'm going to use the letter d so we don't get confused. When I add the common difference twice, I end up at 7x squared. So subtract 11x squared, so 2d equals 6x squared. When I divide by 2, I get 3x squared. So the common difference is 3x squared. It is not option B. Okay, that is just what the common difference is. However, to get down to the 3rd term, I would subtract 3x squared. Well, when I subtract 3x squared, so 11 minus 3 is 9. No, it's not. It's 8. 8x squared. I'm so sorry, guys. When I subtract 3x again, I end up with a 5x squared. So the correct answer is C. So you just have to find the common difference to figure out how to get to each term. Number 9. The first term in the sequence is 2, and each subsequent term is found by adding negative 5/4 to the previous term. What is the first term that has a value less than 0? Okay, so it says the first term in the sequence is 2, so a sub 1 is 2. Each subsequent term, which means each term after, so a sub 2, is found by adding negative 5 to the previous term. So to get from here to here, I would add negative 5/4, which is the same as subtracting 5/4. So 2 minus 5/4 is 3/4. We're looking for the term that is less than 0. So we're looking for the term that is going to be negative. Well, it's not a sub 2 because that's a positive number. So now let's try. Okay, I got cut off in my first video, so I'm going to splice these together. So it might be a little bit of overlap. But right here, to get to a sub 3, that's the first term that's less than 0. So the correct answer is B, the 3rd term. All right, number 10, the sum of the first 5 terms in the arithmetic sequence is 55. What is the value of the 6th term in the sequence if the first term is 3? So in this problem, I'm going to use the summation formula. So the summation formula is the sum of n over 2 times a1 plus a sub n. So from here, the sum is 55. We are working with, not 6, I'm sorry. We are working with 5 terms currently. So 5 over 2. The first term is 3. We are trying to find the value of the 5th term. We can't get to the 6th term until we know the 5th term. So dividing both sides by 5 halves, I get 22 equals 3 plus a sub 5. Subtracting 3 gives me 19. So I know that a sub 5 is 15. I know that a sub 1 is 3. We now need to figure out the common difference. So our goal is to get to the next term. So in our problem, I'm now going to use the other formula. A sub n equals a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. So a sub n is our 5th term. We know that it's 19. We know our first term is 3. We know that we are working with 5 terms, and we're trying to find the common difference. To get to the next term, we need the common difference. All right, so what we're going to do from here is solve for d. So I'm going to subtract to get 16 equals 4d, and when I divide by 4, I get 4 as my common difference. So if I'm trying to get to a sub 6, but I know a sub 5 is 19, I'm going to add 4, which gives me 23. Option E. So you do have to kind of use a combination of both of the formulas to properly find the value of the next term. All right, number 11. Go ahead and go over there. All right, number 11. Zoom out just a little so we can see it. So number 11, it says the formula of the nth term in the sequence is a sub n equals 1/5 a n sub a n minus 1 plus 4. If the second term is 26, what is the first term? So in these problems, this is just a random sequence and it's telling you information. We know that a sub 2 is 26. We're trying to find a sub 1. And it does tell you that we have some information here. So we're working with two terms. So right here, our n value is 2. So when I go into this formula, instead of writing a sub n, I'm going to write a sub 2. Instead of writing n minus 1, I'm going to do 2 minus 1, which is 1. So now I'm going to plug in. A sub 2 is 26. Oh, I wrote 1/2. I'm sorry. This should be a 5. 1/5, a sub 1 plus 4. So I'm going to subtract 4 to get 22 equals 1/5 a sub 1. Multiply both sides by 5. So 22 times 5 is 110. So to do this problem, it's not an arithmetic or geometric formula. All it is just us being able to solve for a formula, like use a formula and solve. Number 12. Which of the following equations represents the formula for the nth term of the sequence? What I would recommend is just guess and check. So I would just kind of do, like, test my answer choices. So in these problems, we notice that we are going down by 2 each time. Okay, so what I would do is I would just pick a term. So a sub 2, we know is 12. So what I would do right here, a sub n, so I'm going to go right here, a sub n is this value. So we're going to make this a sub n. So our n value is 2. So a sub n is 12, so I'm going to go over here and test my answer choices. So option A. 12 has to equal 2 times n minus 1. Well, n minus 1 is 1. So this, we're looking at the first term. Well, 2 times 14 is not 12, so A is out. B, a sub n, again, is the 12 equals the first term, 14, divided by 2. No. Next, the C value, a sub n, again, 12, equals the first term plus 2. Well, the first term is 14. If I add 2, that's not going to equal 12. Option D. A sub n, which we've chosen 12 to be a sub n. So the second term is 12. If I take the first term and subtract 2, that does in fact equal 12. So it is D. So the n minus 1 just means the term before it. So it's just a lot of guess and check. All right, number 13, the terms of the geometric series are found by multiplying the previous terms by 1/3. If the first term is a sub 1, what expression represents the difference between the third and second term in terms of a sub 1? So to do this problem, we first need to talk about the pattern. So we're going to start with a sub 1, a sub 2, and a sub 3. Well, a sub 1, we're going to use a sub 1 because it says in terms of a sub 1. It's telling you to get from term to term, I multiply by 1/3. Well, if I multiply a sub 1 by 1/3, I get 1/3 a sub 1. To get to the next term, I would still multiply by 1/3. So I would get 1/3 times 1/3, which is 1/9 a sub 1. Now it wants the third term and the second term subtracted. Well, a sub 3 is 1/9 a minus a sub 2, which is 1/3 a, 1. So 1/9 minus 1/3 is 2/9, negative 2/9, and a sub 1. These are like terms. So the answer is A. So in these problems, I'm just kind of writing down patterns and trying to figure out how to get from term to term. It makes it a little bit easier if you write out what's happening. And when it says in terms of A1, that means A1 has to be in your problem. So look at your answer choices. That kind of makes it a little bit easier. All All right, number 14, the nth term of a sequence is found by using the formula a sub n equals 4a sub n minus 1 plus 1/2. If the third term of the sequence is 322.5, what is the value of the first term? Okay, so I'm going to know for sure that a sub 3 is 322.5. So I'm going to use this formula. I'm going to say n is 3. So this is going to be a sub 3, which is 322.5, equals 4 times 3 minus 1, which is going to bring us down to a sub 2 plus 1/2. So subtracting the 1/2 gives me 322 equals 4a sub 2. Dividing by 4 gives me 80.5. That is the value of a sub 2, not the value of the first term. So now we're going to do the same thing all over again. A sub 2 is equal to 80.5. So now a sub n is going to be 80.5 equals 4. N minus 1, or the term before a2, is a1 plus 1/2. Subtract the 1/2, I get 80 equals 4a1. Divide by 4, giving us an answer of 20. So you're just kind of using the pattern to step down till you get to a sub 1, which is option B. All right. Number 15. Again, same pattern idea. It's giving you a formula that we're going to use. So it says, the nth term of a sequence is determined by a sub n equals a sub n minus 1 minus r. If the fifth term, so a sub 5, is 38, and the seventh term is 50, what is the value of r? So what is the value of r? So in this problem, we have a 5, which is 38. We don't know a 6. A 7, erase that real quick. A 7, we know is 50. Okay? So what we're going to do is try to go, okay, to get from here to here. We know that we are subtracting r, it looks like. But in this case, I'm just going to practice adding. I'm adding to get to the next term. Okay. Then, from here to here, I'm going to add r again. So in here, I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, 38, minus 2 r's, because we're trying to solve for r. Okay, and we know this r is negative, so minus 2r equals 50. So when you are solving, you're going to get 12, and when you divide by 2, you get negative 6. Another way you could do this problem is you know that you have a formula here. So to help you find how to get from one term to the next term, you can solve for this middle piece here. And what I would recommend doing, this problem can be very confusing because I'm actually kind of, not even going to lie, confusing myself just a little bit. So I'm going to try to figure out this number. If I subtract, if r is negative 6, okay, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time explaining this. To get from step to step, you add 6, right? Like we understand that we are adding 6. Does that make sense? So let me backtrack a little. So to backtrack, I'm going to make these positive now, just to help us. Because I feel like this problem can get very overwhelming. And it's very easy to miss this problem. So when we divide, we get an answer of 6. However, we are adding 6. In the problem, we are subtracting 6. So the only way for this to be a positive 6 is if the r value is negative. Does that make sense? Like, I'm having a hard time trying to talk through it with you because it's really just conceptual. The issue here is the double negative. So like, you know that you're adding 6, but in order to add 6, the value of r has to be negative to change the double negative to plus. So our answer here is C, negative 6. right, let's try number 16. The value of x is twice the value of y. The average of the two numbers is 30. So if I add x plus y, divide by 2, we get 30. We want to know the value of x. Well, we know that x is 2y, so 2y plus y over 2 equals 30. Clearing the fractions, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. 2y plus y is 3y, so I'm going to go ahead and combine those. Equals 60 because 2 times 30 is 60. When I divide by 3, I get a value of 20. Now that is the answer for y. We want to know the value of x. Well, the value of x is 2 times y, which is 2 times 20, which gives us an answer of 40. Okay. All right. Number 17. The first 20 terms in the geometric sequence are less than 60. Okay, they are less than 60. If the first term is 1/2, which of the following is a possible value for the second term? Okay. So in this problem, it tells you that we are working with an n value of 20. Okay. And our first term, a sub 1, we know is 1/2. We're looking for what possible value could be the second term. So I'm going to use our formula. Okay, I'm going to use the formula a sub n equals a sub 1 times r to the n minus 1. So our first term is 1/2. We don't know r, but we do have 20 minus 1, which is 19. So to find our second term, I'm just going to kind of do a guess and check. So we know that a1 is 1/2, and I'm going to try a2. So if a2 is 1/4, to get from here to here, the ratio is 1/2. So as we go from here to here, notice how our values are getting smaller. Like our numbers are getting smaller. Like 1/4 goes to, or 1/2 becomes 1/4. Okay? So if the second term is 1/4, I get that by multiplying 1/2. So that would be my r value, 1/2. If I keep dividing or multiplying by 1/2, my numbers get smaller and smaller and smaller. If I'm going from 1/2, which is option B, to 5/4, I'm multiplying. These numbers are getting larger. So eventually they're going to be bigger than 60. And as you continue, these are all numbers that are going to be too big. Your common ratio increases too much. And this, the value of the first terms, they have to be less than 60. And 5/4, 2, 3, and 6, they're going to get too big too fast. So as you're plugging these problems in, you're going to get a number that's bigger than 60. So like you could find, okay, the common ratio is 1/2. You could plug 1/2 into here, and that would give you the 20th term, and it would tell you if it's less than 60. So right here, the ratio is 1/2, so 1/2 times 1/2 raised to the 19. Sorry, let me get my calculator. So I've got 0.5 times 0.5 raised to the 19. That is definitely less than 60. Now, if I try the next one, to get from here to here, my ratio is 5/2. So 0.5 times 0.5, or not 0.5, I'm sorry, times 2.5 raised to the 19. That's huge. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't even see it. That's huge. Like, the 2.5 is our ratio. Like, that is way too big. That number is bigger than 60. So it has to be option A because those numbers are smaller. The 20th term is less than 60. All right, number 18, what is the 101st term of this sequence? So I see that it repeats here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times it repeats. Well, 101 divided by 5 is 20. with a remainder of 1, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's going to keep ending here, but then it has a remainder of 1. So when I get to 100, I'm going to be down here at 8. Since it has a remainder of 1, it's going to go up to 5. So 5 is the 100 first term. Number 19, David received 3 grades on his first test. What does he have to get on his fourth test to make an average of a 90? So we're going to just do an average. So 85 plus 92 plus 100 plus x over 4 equals an average of 90. Multiplying both sides by 4 and adding this top, so I get 277 plus x, and then 90 times 4 is 360. So x is 83. In order for him to make a 90 average, he must make an 83 on his next test. All right, number 20. This is just common simplifying. So 6 squared is 36 plus 2 to the 5th is 32 divided by 4 squared, which is 16 plus 49. 32 divided by 16 is 2, so I have 36 plus 2 plus 49 for a total of 87. Number 21, the terms of the sequence are found by multiplying the previous term by 2 and then subtracting 1. Which of the following terms must be the largest? Okay, so I'm going to kind of write like a general formula. The terms of the sequence are found by multiplying the previous term. So the previous term would be n minus 1 times 2, then subtracting 1. So this is going to give us our a sub n value. So we want to know which of the following terms must be the largest. Okay, well, if our first term is negative, so let's say that our first term is negative. So if we're working with a negative number here, so let's make this like a negative number, whatever it is. This is positive. So a positive number times a negative number is more negative numbers. And then I'm going to subtract again. So my answer is just going to keep getting more and more negative. Like if the first term or whatever term is a negative number, then as I keep adding more negative numbers into this, like a negative times a positive is a negative, minus another number is a negative. It keeps getting negative. Right? It keeps getting negative, which would mean that the original term would be the largest because we start at the first term, but then it keeps getting negative, 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 negative. So what that could mean, let's do an example. Let's say our first term is 3. To find our next term, term 2, or negative 3, I'm sorry, we would get an answer of negative 7, meaning our first term is the biggest term. So I might stop and go, yeah, first term's the biggest. Okay? Or let's try a positive. Let's say our first term is positive. 2 times 2 minus 1. Well, that is 4. Minus 1 is 3. Well, now the fourth term is, or the next term is bigger than the first. So notice how they haven't put a restriction on values, which means depending on if I choose a positive number or a negative number, the first or the fourth or the second, like all of these terms could be the biggest depending on what the value or what sign the first term has. So the answer choice that is correct is E. It depends on the value of the first term. If the first term is negative, then yes, the first term would be the biggest. If the first term is positive, then the fourth term would be the biggest. So we need a little bit more restriction. 22, if the first term of a series is 4 and the third term is 36, what is the value of the second? Okay, so what I'm going to do here, A1 is 4. We're trying to find A2. We're going to get eventually to A3, which is 36. So you can do this one of 2 ways. You can add, or you could subtract or multiply. So it doesn't necessarily tell you if it's arithmetic or geometric. So as you're working these, it might be a good choice to try them both. I'm going to recognize, though, that 4 and 36 those actually are multiples, like 4 goes into 36 evenly. So I'm going to think in terms of multiplying. So I'm going to multiply by r. Then to get up here, I would have to multiply by r again. So 4 times r is 4r squared, and that's going to end up giving me 36. When I divide by 4, I get r squared equals 9. And when I square root 9, I get 3. So my r value is 3. Well, 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 3 is 36. And 12 is actually an answer choice. So you can't use arithmetic. This is actually a geometric sequence. But the best way to recognize is that they are multiples of each other. So 4 does go into 36 evenly, which would kind of steer you towards geometric. If you try arithmetic and you do plus d, your answer choice actually isn't going to be there because the common difference would be 16, and that's not an answer. So 20 is not right. So this lets you know that this form is geometric. Number 23, John's test scores for marking period are 72, 84, 86, and 70. What score must he get to maintain an 80? So we've got a 72 plus an 84 plus an 86 plus 70 plus some unknown score. He needs an 80. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to add the top, and I get 312 plus x. And then when I multiply both sides by 5, I get 400. So John must have an 88 on his next test to maintain a score of an 80. Final question here. 8 less than 3 times a number is which algebra equation? So 8 less than 3 times a number. So 8 less means I'm subtracting 8. 3 times a number would be 3n. So the correct answer is option C. I hope that this has helped. I know that some of these problems, especially number 15, can be tricky, especially if you're trying to work through some of these problems. They can be hard. I hope that it kind of made sense though with a double negative. I'm still back on number 15 with the double negative, like you're adding 6, but really I hope that it made sense because I'm really trying to help you figure that out. But the double negative makes it plus, which means it's minus. And there's a few on here that can be very challenging. So if you have any questions, please let me know. If this tutorial video, you need a little bit extra help, just let me know.